We had a couple of questions during the break about Oshkosh, so rather than going to questions straight away, we'll just talk a little bit about Oshkosh, the event in Narromine last week, and then we'll go to any other questions that anybody might have. But Mick and I attended, and as Mick said, a number of the team were out there last week. That was all weekend last week, and they're here again all weekend this weekend. Tremendous commitment. But Oshkosh was born with a relationship, I suppose, between the SAAA and RAAus about 8 or 9 months ago. The SAAA ran their traditional OzFly event, RAAus ran the traditional NatFly, and a couple of years ago the board took a decision to put NatFly on hold until we reassess what the nature of a fly-in was. And in that time, it was never cancelled, it was never gone forever. It was, well, let's think about it, just like sport pilot. Hang on a sec, let's put this on hold and let's think about what's best for the long-term future of the organisation. And during the last 12 months, we sat down with the SAAA, and the idea of having a joint event sort of germinated with those two organisations. And then we issued a general invitation to everybody in June last year to why don't we, they all came to Canberra, all the sport organisations got together, and why don't we have a combined event. In the end, we got 4 founding partners together. The SAAA and RAAus were the first two, and who joined us as the HDFA and the Australian Parachuting Federation. So we had 4 founding organisations that put Oshkosh on. A number of other organisations were involved, but they didn't invest in the event or didn't get involved in the organisation. They attended, and we had exhibitors there. 43 or 44 exhibitors were there, and a number of seminars were also put on from a number of different groups. But the 4 founding organisations had the predominant positions in each of those exhibition tent and seminars. And the event was hugely successful. Gate numbers were about 2,000 people through the gates over the day and a half. Sunday was bad. We had winds twice as windy as today. So the event basically ran on the Friday and the Saturday with 2,000 people coming through. And I think it just a tick under 400 aircraft. I think was the number that was banded.
Well, there's mixed numbers, but I think the official number was 390.
390, something like that, aircraft attended. Heaps of people camping under the wing. On the airfield, stack of movements, about 180 aircraft landed in 3.5 hours on the Saturday morning. It was just a phenomenal sight, seeing everybody flying to a picture-perfect day in Narromine on Saturday. And hugely successful, great camaraderie, great, the old style flying is how we marketed, and that's what we wanted to deliver. That's what we said to the SAAA, the HDFA and the APF. I'll get that acronym right one day. That's what we said, the parachuting. Yeah, those dudes jump out of working planes. We delivered exactly what we wanted to deliver. A limited air show, about an hour and a half of air show activity, but the rest of the event was about members meeting members, members engaging with members, members engaging with the organisations, and a number of seminars. Jared gave a couple of seminars, Jill gave a couple of seminars, Katie gave a couple of seminars, Mick and I gave a couple of seminars, as did the other organisations. So hugely successful. What was your view on Oshkosh, Mick?
I kind of think my view was a little unimportant, but I spoke to heaps of people, and by heaps, I'm not talking 10, I'm talking hundreds, and I've had nothing but positive feedback. The only negative that I got back was a few people didn't like the name, but when I look at it, I kind of think about about aviation in general, and I think Australia, we've got 24 million people, and we're not big enough to have multiple fly-ins, one for the SAAA, one for HDFA, one for, is it the AFP or APF? One for the parachute guys. And of course one for us. And dozens of people said to me after that, they said, they remember the original sort of NatFly fly-ins back at Mangawar. I don't think it was called NatFly back then. But they remember that. And the social aspect of it and whatnot, people camping under the wing, and a couple of them described this as that on steroids. So I think we nailed it. My personal view is I thought it was great. We've got some great sponsors that came back, QBE included, Oz Runways, Aviation Trade, and so on, and they've all already committed. A couple of exhibitors sold. One particular exhibitor said that he sold 4 aircraft on the weekend, so I think it was a good result all around, and I'm looking forward to doing it all again next year. Has anyone got any questions on any topic? Doesn't matter what it is, anything.
How much did it cost us for Oshkosh?
Okay, Rod, for the benefit of those watching at home, Rod just asked how much it cost. I think without including the staff costs, I spoke about the effort that these guys put in, but that also costs the organisation as well. We've got to pay their wages and expenses and whatnot. Excluding, no, well that's a good point actually. Max just said you don't get paid for it. You give up a lot of time. But there is time throughout the week that you divert away from other tasks to do this. So, all of that comes at not only personal cost, and again, I thank you guys, but it does come at a cost to the organisation. But ignoring all of those costs in past years, I think we've actually put in a cash injection of around about $35,000, give or take, on that flight. This year for Oshkosh, $5,000. So we've gotten around 400 aircraft. Tony, where's Tony? No, Tony's outside. Tony King, one of our board members, coordinated the last NATFly. I think, is Jill around? No, they've all gone. Oh, Jill.
78 or something, wasn't it?
78?
I think that's what Tony said to me today.
Yeah, so 78 aircraft. So we've got something that's a bit over 4 times bigger for 1/7 of the cost, or 1/7 of the investment. When I say 1/7 of the investment from RAAus, other organisations also put in the $5,000. Yep, we'll just get to the microphone.
Is Oshkosh going to be every year or be bi-yearly, or what is the idea about it?
I'll hand to Michael, but I do know one thing. There's a debrief going on, and we're talking to sponsors, exhibitors, members, everyone. So we're not going to make any decisions without being informed. But I keep on saying I'm looking forward to next year. So
Everybody's saying that they're looking forward to next year. We had a debrief after the meeting. There is a mood to do it again and do it quickly, to build on the momentum and I suppose tap into that momentum and excitement around the event. We really need to assess the location, the other organisations getting involved, the feasibility of doing it, and look at the timing. It was on the same weekend as the Bathurst weekend. We had some feedback around Bathurst. I think we've got Phillip Island this weekend, or next weekend? This weekend. So again, finding a weekend where there's not another major sporting event that our members are interested in is difficult. If you bring it forward, you get into the football grand finals. If you put it back, so then it gets too hot. So yes, there's a mood to do it again. Is it going to be the exact same weekend? Probably not. Is it going to be Narromine? Probably for the next year or 2 or 3. Who knows? I'd like to see the event outgrow Narromine, personally. But if we outgrow Narromine, well then the event is a huge success. That's what you want. And there are dozens of other airports across the country that we can hold it at. Narromine has a historical relationship with the SAAA. I don't know how much longer the SAAA are going to be at Narromine. So we don't know the future of Narromine. But we're only one of 4 organisations that make that decision. We'll have a meeting, those 4 organisations, and make some decision. The minute we know, we'll get information out to members. But right now the mood is, yeah, let's do it again.
There are a couple of organisations or enterprises wanting to do an Uber type flying arrangement with aircraft. So if I've got an aircraft and I'm going to fly to Port Lincoln, I can say I'm flying to Port Lincoln, who wants to come for a ride to Port Lincoln? Someone else wants to come, and we can share costs of profit making, share costs. What are RAAus' views on that, or does RAAus have a view or input into that?
It's a real tricky one. There's a lot of legal questions. A lot of people argue that they're not commercial ventures because you're just sharing costs. You're charging for a subscription service. You're not charging for the flight, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to give an organisational view. RAAus is about recreational flying, and to be fair, some of those flights will be recreational in nature, but others will be somewhat commercial, flying for work or whatever. So I won't give an organisational view. We haven't discussed it as an organisation. What I will say personally is if it encourages more people to fly, then I really hope that something like that takes off and gets more people involved. But they've got a lot of legal sort of wrangling to do to sort through the issues. If I was a gambling man, I would say once it gets established, CASA is going to take a really good long hard look. So I really hope they've got some funding if they want to push back on CASA. But yeah, we don't have a formal view. it's something we may discuss in future, but it's not on the agenda just yet. Anything else from Mandy and Don?
Just one more on Oshkosh. Having a board meeting this weekend, which was of course predicted months and months ago, probably before Oshkosh was decided, was one thing, but we have had board meetings at Narromine in conjunction with the fly-in at Narromine. Is that possible in time to come? Would that save costs?
It is possible, but what I really hate is you've got guys giving up their time right here, right now. You've got these guys giving up their time as well. I love aviation, and I think it sucks that people expect me to give up my time, and it costs me a lot of money. I'm giving up 2 work days this week for this AGM, for the board meeting and whatnot. On top of that, to ask your board members to give up something that they're very passionate about, otherwise they wouldn't be here, and give up a fly-in opportunity like Narromine, I think it's unfair. I know we've done it before in the past, and I know there's been mornings when I would love to be out, checking out planes. I'm in the market for a plane right now. I don't want to give up time shopping for a plane, but we all love flying, and I think it's pretty unfair to ask board members to give up more than they're already giving up. Having said that, I appreciate there is a cost saving when board members go to these things. We may as well get the maximum use. 2 things to keep in mind. Firstly, we've now allowed for electronic board meetings to get those costs down, so we can tackle that question. But on top of that, we don't fly board members to every single flight. I don't go to every single flight. I went to Oshkosh and I made my own way over. That didn't come at a cost to the organisation. So on the cost saving front, firstly, it doesn't cost us a great deal because we don't fly board members, and secondly, we've got other means in place to reduce cost of board meetings.
I think we can make the point that both Tony and I got there at our own cost, under our own steam, to appreciate and try and understand the value of Oshkosh and whether it was something that we should be supporting in the future. So, I had a good time. I ran out of time because the seminar program was so good. There was no way in the world that you could get to all the seminars you wanted to and see everything else that was available to see. So from that point of view, no complaints. It was a great personal experience, but I went also for the first time ever to one of these things to try and understand what it was all about, so I could make a sensible contribution in the future.
And you want that, so I just
It's echoing what Mick said at the time. Kel's got responsibility to take minutes at a board meeting. I don't think she had time to herself the whole 3 days we're in Oshkosh. I took my whole camera. I love photographing aircraft. I love photography. I didn't get my camera out of the bag. We were that busy during Oshkosh. So I think marrying the 2 is probably not the best strategic decision, and also takes away the focus. You're there at the air show and you're focusing on the air show when the board should be focusing on board business. Now tomorrow when the board gets together, they're focused, they're in a room 100% focused on board business that the organisation needs, rather than worrying whether they're going to get to a seminar or whether they're going to see a specific plane flying or not flying. So I think it allows the organisation to focus itself. Any other questions? Yep.
Just a comment on that. I can see how it's a bit of work for the board, and they could maybe have their board meeting the next weekend back in Canberra or somewhere. But if you had the AGM and the safety summit at Narromine or at Oshkosh, it gives general members, or a lot more general members, the opportunity to attend either or both.
It does, and we did run the seminars that Katie ran today. We ran those at Narromine as well. So
that's my whole point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could. It's running the AGM there. It's not a no, but it's something to consider. And the timing is the key issue. We've got constitutional requirements for when we run the AGM, and that's got to marry with the time when Oshkosh is run. So it's
12 months ago.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I'll just add as well. This year we got. When did we get the finance? You can look in your pack. Actually, you'll see when we got the audited financial reports back. We would have been really hard pressed this year in particular to get them back in time. So it's kind of tough sometimes due to other constraints as well. But as Michael said, nothing's off the table.
My point is that
Hang on.
my point is that if you organise the AGM and if you're going to have a safety summit at something like the fly-in, you're liable to get a lot more members, and surely both of those meetings are for members rather than the board or the staff's convenience.
Yeah. And I know your points, thanks, Dave.
Max has got some knowledge in all
Yeah.
the last AGM and that's why.
And I'm not actually talking about the one at NAPLA. We organised one year at Narromine.
It was for Osborne.
It was before Oshkosh, Osfly. And I was actually manning the marquee that year, and I had so many complaints from members because they wanted to attend the fly-in, but they couldn't because we had an AGM on, so they had to pick which one they wanted to go to. So you've got to be careful that way too.
Yeah. I think there's pros and cons. Yeah. And
I suppose the best way to sum it up is if we can do it and it's possible, we do it. So that's the easiest answer. You know, if you don't take away from something else and everybody's comfortable with it, we do it because it saves money, it's for the benefit of members, but it's weighing up all those different variables, I suppose, when putting on an event of that nature. And they're massive, they're huge.
On a completely different tack, the deed of agreement with CASA, where are we at with that? The last time I looked on the website, the one that was there is out of date. Is there a new one, and can we screw any more money out of CASA?
This is a really easy, well, two questions. The first answer is no, and the second answer is no. No, in all seriousness, we've got a new, I think they've sent the new deed through, I'm pretty sure, yeah. We haven't signed it yet because we haven't got a full board. Just to go a little bit back in history, we, Barry, Tony and I have been in a caretaker mode. We haven't made any strategic decisions except those that were mandatory. So we've just been doing the decisions that we had to, or taking the decisions we had to take in order to transition from an association, an incorporated association, to a company. So we haven't looked at that deed of agreement. I can tell you now, it's pretty much unchanged from the previous one, as is the funding. Every single time, and I can say this hand on heart, every single time we talk to the Director of Aviation Safety and anyone else who's in a decision-making position that high up in CASA, the Minister's office, the department, we always ask for more money. We've been doing that religiously for 2 years. We haven't got a cent. One thing that CASA has committed to doing is reviewing the funding model, but we don't know what the outcome of that's going to be.
Are you able to tell us, or could you provide in sometime in the future figures of what it costs RAAus to provide the services required by CASA in the deed of agreement?
Yeah, we've worked this out in the past.
It's about 6 or 8 months old. CASA gives us $107,000 each year. We value the services that we deliver to CASA at $1.8 million. $18 for one CASA are getting.
Is there anything else? Half-hour break and dinner. Sorry, wait.
Now, I'm not sure whether we're an RAAO or an RAAOS, I forget what CASA's calling us these days, but at the moment we are one of 2 associations that cover weight shift, and we're the only association that covers 3-axis ultralights or sport aircraft, however you wish to say it. We know that there's a nascent third organisation in throes of being set up. What are we going to do if we see any movement of our core members at the moment in aircraft moving? Given the financial position we're in, 1,000 members or aircraft leaving would be horrendous, is my expectation. How are we going to address it?
But I agree with everything you've said there, Kirk. If we have a mass exodus of members, it will be detrimental. There's no kidding about that. That's a fact. Look, I think even without I mean, we've coexisted with the HGFA, the other weight shift aircraft organisation out there. We've coexisted with them, and I think largely in part because we don't have a huge trike community. That said, I think the value we offer to those guys is, my view is that we offer better value to those guys. And I think that's the broader answer going forward. Now, over the past few years, we've come through some pretty tough times. 4 or 5 years ago, we had $500,000. I can't remember the numbers, but the finances. We've had some pretty significant losses. You've seen the finances today. We've still got some pretty significant losses. Our focus over the next 2 years, and this will be a big topic for the board, is shifting from stabilising the organisation, which we've been doing over the last 2 years, and making sure we satisfy CASA, the ATSB, etc. Working with various law enforcement agencies to investigate accidents, improve our safety. We've got that under control, and that's not to say we've got we've nailed it. We've still got some way to go. But our big focus now is shifting to offering more value-added services, things that members don't have to pay for, they want to pay for. They want to contribute extra funds to get those services. That's where we have to be. And the reality is that this new organisation that you talk about, I've heard about it as well. I don't know anyone. I've spoken to quite a number of people. No one seems to know where they're at. There's no website, there's no information, there's very limited information. No one knows where they're at, but even in the absence of that information, we just have to be more competitive. It's a Coke and Pepsi type argument. They've got a bigger market than us and they can compete with each other, and that competition is just going to drive us to try harder.
That's exactly what I'm going to say. Competition sharpens your resolve and sharpens your mind. So, if anything, it'll make RAAus better. So, everybody, there's enough room in Australian aviation for anybody that wants to join the market, because it's just better for everybody. So, I'd like to see them at Oshkosh as a partner. Fantastic. Any other comments, questions? All right. Well, we're going to fire up the barbecue in about 10 or 15 minutes.